is Rohan Ironhand.
neutral
Korbanothin
good.
is Nebrok Skystriker. Tim is just Peak. All right, Brendan, you are the captain of a guard. And you hear people arguing. You know, families started they're shouting. All this started was between a man and a woman fighting over their property and the property line. What is Captain doing?
I'm saying he has property rights. And
Okay.
screw you.
He gives you a handshake and he offers you to host a ball and a fundraiser. So he invites you to come to the ball as a re-election. Are you willing to come?
I'd say yes.
Okay. Korbanothin Morris.
Die?
So right now you're in a prison being watched over. So one night you're laying there, piece of paper hits you. You unwrap it, and it's a plan from the rebels trying to create a prison break for you. Let's go. So after you read through this, an unfamiliar guard comes at night. He stops, and out of the side of his mouth, he asks, do you want the plan to go through?
Go ahead.
You're in?
Yeah, keep planning.
Guard
we'll figure it out.
Guard walks off. Guy to your left that always stares at you. His legs probably don't work. And he gets up, hands right next to the bar, and he looks you in his eye, in the eye to eye, and he goes,
I know, and I heard the guard last night. I know you're planning an escape. Either you do me a favor when I call, or I tell the guards.
I'm not going to do a favor for a criminal that's been there for 50 years. Fetch that.
Kind of hope you win. Okay. Tim, you're in a world where there's multiple kingdoms, kind of like Skyrim, where there's like 9 big cities. You're the king of one, and every now and then you guys will meet as kings of the realm. So you know this one king. Basically, he wants communism. You've given him an ultimatum to either stop and agree to some terms, or you're gonna take over. He said no, stubborn, so you start an invasion on the city. About 3 days into the cutoff, Allah, he's a representative of the city, it's a title. His real name's Muhammad, to be a representative of the people, and he asked to have a meeting with you. Back to Brendan. So, Brendan, you're in the party. You're dressed up nicely, and the guy comes over to you who's hosting the event. We'll call him
Kind of concluding.
Pete. He says, you know, I'd like to go over kind of what were you raised, giving it to you somehow, you know, and he wants to talk to you, just you and him.
I'd probably go with him.
Okay, yeah. He kind of has not a contract, like it's more of an agreement, like you promise to give all this money to the people, and he has you sign it. Like he asked for you to kind of like, it would be good if you signed it, because then there would be record of you just giving out money.
So yeah, I would do that, but I would also ask for like a copy of it.
Corbin, you're in an interrogation room. You've been spanked up.
We can strike a deal. He says, I know there's still some rebellions out there, rebels, and he says, if you can give us any information on that, we can cut a deal and get you out of here. And get you back to your wife and kids. By the way, you have a wife and kids.
I'm gonna give the false info. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give something that's like half true, but that I know is not gonna give away any of the actual rebellion.
You know, if we go through this and we find out you're lying, and he says, I'm looking at your wife's house right now.
As you start rounding the corner, you're in the hallway where you're seeing kind of that old guy who had bum legs before is now standing up. And it almost seemed like he was off the ground for a second. Almost like as if he was like an inch off the ground. But as soon as like you turn the corner, he kind of gets down just that inch, and he's kind of holding stuff to kind of support him, and he kind of lowers himself back down. And he goes,
My exercise? As my legs don't work, I gotta use my arms.
I've never seen you do exercise before this day. Why don't you pick the day to do the exercises?
and he says,
Would you like that favor?
Now he wants the favor.
You have no leverage, old man.
He says, that's okay.
okay.
I'm gonna say,
What's wrong?
Back in your corner, go back to sleep.
So that's what's going on. Back to Tim. Tim!
I'm happy I'm not in any of your situations.
Yeah, Tim.
Today's the day of the meeting. Tonight is when the oil goes off. So, kind of front gates open, horses start coming out. You start ordering your men to kind of get ready for the oncoming. Or how do you prepare for this oncoming? Gate starts opening, and you see, kind of the 13, 14 horses kind of start coming towards your camp with a flag of the city and a different flag that you couldn't really tell, but you assumed it's probably like some title that he has.
So it's probably just like a flag of truce.
Yeah.
No, he assumed from deduction that's probably a flag for Allah, the title of what he has. So it's kind of under the city flag. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what you see. They start kind of riding towards you. So what's your plan?
I'll probably have the meeting more like not inside a tent, just open area, just where it's just like tables, center of area. All my guards are just like living about, and
Okay.
I'll have good post of people watching over this conversation happen.
Okay.
And so yeah, I'll just be waiting there.
Okay. Okay. Cool. The guys come in. You set a little spot off in your camp. Do you have all your guards around, kind of listening, or is it just kind of you and your couple lieutenants, and it's just him? He'll have his guards kind of on the perimeter. Do you have your guards on your perimeter?
Yeah, I'll
It's
have
just
guards
you
all
two.
around the perimeter. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have? Is it just you, or you and your lieutenants? Your kind of council of people.
Yeah, my council will be there.
Okay, so it'll be him, and then you're kind of 3 guys.
Yeah.
So he'll come up and he'll sit down, and he kind of just gets a sigh of relief because you can tell he probably knows who you are. And he goes, "I don't want this war as much as you don't." And he says, "I'm not necessarily for everything our king does. I think he has some good options, but I don't want the city and the people to suffer." He says, obviously I want the city to grow and flourish. And he says, I don't want anyone in the city to be hurt. How can we do this diplomatically? Like, what is your end goal? And I can try to push our king in that way to meet eye to eye. I want to be the middleman. Because let's say you've tried to meet with the king before to kind of give him like a last ultimatum, and he's like, no.
Just
Yeah. So he ends with you saying, I want to be the middleman. He says, what's your kind of end goal? How do you want this to end? And
I kind of forgot what the original meeting was at that beginning, what he was against.
so,
He's like from the Communist Party.
yeah, he wants
He's
to,
like
he wants
little boy.
He wants to spread his idea, and given time, you think he'll probably accomplish taking another
He's also
city.
like power hungry as well. You're
Yeah.
saying.
And you've noticed over the years of the kingdoms and the meetings, like, the more he's kind of gotten outspoken about his stuff. Because, like, there's a reason why he came to be a king in the first place, but it slowly kind of turned and corrupted. And now it's at a point where it's like something you need to get dethroned. So that's kind of why you're here, to take the city and dethrone him. You're not necessarily, of course, to just slaughter people and go to, you want him to dethrone, but he kind of has his kind of hold on, kind of in the Hitler situation, like not all German people were bad, but they were forced to do stuff in the military to do stuff. So that's kind of the feel.
It's kind of like I'd almost want to invite whoever wants to just leave, come join, but it's like that's not going to go over well. I was going to say.
Yeah, just if you guys aren't with your king, come on out, join our camps.
Not going to work, but
So Muhammad says that would work if you had an exit strategy for everyone that didn't want to be in the town, but there may not be as many as you think.
then why not bring the whole city?
Because some of the people are loyal to their house. They've been there for. They say they've been there for so long, just because there's threat of somebody. Like, they're people, and you can tell the people of this realm are like proud to be where they're from. So it's like moving isn't really more. It's less of like, I'll move to a safer place, but like if I move, problems will follow me. So might as well stay here. But they said some people may leave, but it may not be worth your time, as a lot of people would probably choose to stay anyway, because right now their life is.
I'd ask him, what would he do if he was king? Like, what would be his...
He would.
It's you, king, my guy.
Okay, interesting. He would say, if I was king, And as you've noticed, all good kings do, they focus on their people and the problems. Our king has maybe neglected one of those. And I think he's neglected the people and is focused on the problems. And he's fixed all the problems, but the people are suffering because they're not able to do certain things. There's not that variability. Because you can, kind of like, if you control everything in a baby's life, they're not going to be able to hurt themselves, but they're also restricted on what they'll learn, kind of that. So that's kind of, he says, that's the king. He says, I'm no king though. And he says, I'll never want to be, and I don't think like that. I'm here for the people, and that's what my title is. But he says, I encourage you to think about our people and what your presence here will do. And he says, I do get your reasoning, and he says, I can maybe agree to some points on why maybe he needs to get dethroned. And you can tell there's a reason why he hasn't been killed though, is like, because he's kind of, it does interest him, the communism, like everybody will get what they need. So that's kind of why he's like interesting. Like he's kind of around, but he doesn't know because it's a new idea. So he's kind of playing the waters, and he sees like, oh, it's a threat to you. So that's kind of the advice he gives you. So he's not really giving you like a decision, but he kind of supports. He's kind of playing the fence. Is what you get.
Nice to just leave the city to do whatever they want and just not have to worry about it. But they're gonna spread there.
Yeah, they're gonna spread. So you got to fix the problem before it happens.
I feel like it'd just be like nice meeting with you, and then just kind of follow through with the previous plans. Yeah.
Okay.
You could kind of warn him, be like, hey,
That's fair.
be like, like, hey, you might want to be out of this district at this certain time. Warn the people or whatever.
If he tells the
And
king.
then but because I didn't. Yeah.
We said he's for the people, and the king wasn't necessarily for the people, though.
Yeah, but he's not necessarily against the king. He's like, I can see your points, but I
So
can
there's
also
a
see the
reason why
king's
he's
points.
still there and hasn't been killed or
Yeah.
taken away from his position, is because he kind of is interested in communism, because the idea is everyone will work and everyone gets what they need.
And
so
in
he's
his
a very
mind-
people-oriented guy.
That's like, oh, perfect. It's for the people.
And he grew up in the city, and it's a title that's been passed through generations, and it's picked, and he got picked because he's glad he's in the position he is, and he's interested in this new idea. But he can also see why Tim's there, because this can also be bad. So he's very kind of doesn't know what's going on right now, but he's trying to play it out where people will be good. So he ends up leaving. He thanks you. He ends up leaving. There's no issues with his guys.
I'd probably do something almost to lead him more towards thinking we're just going to continue cutting their supplies and just kind of keep him away from not thinking about, like, knowing about the oil stuff at all. Yeah. Just keep him on that path. That's what we're going to do.
We're keeping you under siege, and that's our plan.
Or you're like, hey, we're just trying to contain this or whatever, and stopping it from spreading throughout the country and into other kingdoms and stuff like that. So we are going to siege you still and cut off your food supply.
Yeah. So that would be my part of it.
But that's it. That's all we're doing. Nothing else.
Okay, so the guy thinks you, leaves. There's no issues. He goes back to the city. An hour or two later, you get a letter from the king. Do you read it?
Sure, I'll read it.
Well, it's a letter, like.
Well, a messenger comes and he says a letter from our king. Would you accept? Do you accept?
I'll have someone else open it and read it for me.
It's a bomb!
hey! It's
so
poison.
You end up reading it, and you open it, and your messenger is kind of reading it, and he kind of like.
Should have made.
And you're like, and you kind of like, tell me what he
it.
said, and he just kind of folds it up, puts it in the envelope, and just hands it to you.
It's like, you're gonna want to read this.
So you'll open it up. It's a drawing of a middle finger.
I knew there was gonna be something else like it.
That's
like,
so dumb.
And then it says turn over, and there's an arrow. Do you turn the paper over? Sure. It's a picture of the king pulling his pants down.
Like, okay, little shiz.
This guy's garbage.
And the message out of the king's mouth is, "Bring it on."
Oh.
Thanks for giving me a little bit.
I was gonna say, yeah.
This guy is home. Get him.
You know what? Double the oil.
Yeah.
So
Screw it. We have to get
do
this boy.
anything to this messenger.
He did say from our king. The messenger's still there.
Yeah. The messenger says, "Was there any message you want to give back?"
Another middle finger. Be like, okay.
I just light his thing on fire and just take back the ashes.
Oh.
Okay, and you see him right off a little bit, and then he kind of just dumps it and kind of cleans himself up, straightens his little suit. And you can tell he's kind of like a Lord Farquaad. Like, as soon as he jumped off the horse, like, there's horse leg extensions. You're like... So he was kind of midget man.
Shoot him in the air. Shoot him with
And
an
he kind of
arrow.
cleans up, and he kind of, like, has a comb. And
So
combs
you
his
should
hair,
have
and
been
he-
like,
And
this
he kind of
siege is
jumps
not
on the
gonna
horse,
end.
and he kind of falls on his butt again because the horse is kind of high. And then he kind of, like...
Do you need a
skillfully gets
stool,
back up
sir?
there, puts his legs in the adult legs, and then kind of just rides off. Oh, primp.
You should have just been like, yeah, tell him that this siege isn't gonna end anytime soon. Continue the siege messages.
And you see one of your archer guys is like, and he looks to you and he starts nodding.
He's like, no one, no.
Don't hit the horse.
So the guy,
Tim's like, do it.
so
Tim, what happened to the lawful good, my guy? You're just like chaotic.
Hey, this guy's
Good.
a piece of
Tim,
garbage.
even or odd?
Hey, I don't care about that. It's
True.
even.
Just right in the horse's butt.
So the guy's kind of starts aiming. The guy's riding off, and he's getting nervous because you said don't hit the horse, and he's kind of eyeballing it, and he kind of like right before he shoots, he kind of closes his eyes and.
Right
And
in
you
the
kind of
horse's
watch
butt.
it, you're like, what a hole! And you see the arrow arc, and then you're like, oh, that's way too short. And then the guy kind of stops and he pulls out his comb again, and he starts combing his hair, and you see the arrow just goes straight through the guy's hand. He drops his comb, and he turns around, and he just starts screaming. And the horse starts flipping out. It busts him up into the air, and the horse hind kicks him, caves in his chest, and he just falls to the ground, dead. And the horse flips out, and it runs towards the city, and he gets killed.
Oh!
So now the city
that's
knows.
that's a war.
The city knows that you just mangled the messenger.
Yeah.
It's Sparta. Just snipe him.
Once again, it's another distraction.
Yeah.
Tim, gotcha!
Gotcha. Look behind you.
Hey, catch!
So as the archer kind of closes his eyes and got him, and everyone's like, ooh! All his friends go up and they're like high-fiving the archer, like, let's go! And then they kind of just look at you and kind of like.
I mean,
leave.
technically, you didn't really kill him. You just shot him in the hand, and then
All he said was, hey, don't hit the horse.
So your lieutenant that's in charge of all the oil comes to you. It's about dawn. It's like 1 hour from just being completely dark. There's a little bit light left, and he goes, "Is there any final changes to the plan we're wanting to make? We have the oil set up. Again, we think we should be able to contain it all in his headquarters."
Fetch it, triple the oil.
burn the city. No more communism.
Yeah, nothing I could think of. I just ask him if there's anything that came to his mind while operating it.
So he's kind of your headstrong offense taking guy. So he gives you, he's like, if it was me, I'd add some more oil. I said, it's time to rush this plan along.
Since the guy's been shot, it's like, oh, gotta have the oil now.
Double the oil.
And he goes, my man. And he goes,
My man!
yeah. And he goes and he's like, we're doing it.
All of the soldiers are like, yeah!
Yeah, and there's this slow like, ooh, 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 ooh. Big old chef comes out from the back, pots of oil, just starts loading him. He's one in each hand. He's buff, like fingers thick as a spear, just big sausage man.
Straight Travis dad.
Yeah, Cooking omelets with his fist. That's the kind of chef you brought. So him and all his other chefs start loading up the oil, and they're kind of putting some stuff in it because they're trying to add cooking oil to kind of have it spread really quick as the normal oil kind of bubbles over, kind of like lava. So they're kind of doing kind of a mix of spreading it really quick, and then they pour the boiling oil over it for it to slowly kind of catch on fire and burn stuff. Yeah, because oil and water still burns, so that's kind of the plan. So they go, and your lieutenant says, we have a signal. We'll shoot an arrow into the sky on fire, and they'll be able to see it in the mountain. And everything's set up, and you see them shoot an arrow, so that means that they're ready. And then your lieutenant looks over to you and he says, "Are we good?"
Good.
Okay.
Do it.
Do it. Use your oil. Strike them down.
Tim, you're surprising me. You're like,
Oh, Tim said, "Oh,
screw
a middle finger."
Screw diplomacy. We're just burning.
Listen, and goes like Aragorn.
Hey, you know what?
Aragorn just.
If Aragorn got
no cuts, no butts, no coconuts.
if Aragorn got a photo of a middle finger and a butt, he'd bomb the town.
He'd be like, oh.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I added that. That wasn't scripted. I was like,
You had.
yeah, that was just on the fly. I was like, here's a message. There was an original message, but Tim kind of made some decisions where the message didn't really matter, so now it was just like. So, you light it, and then you see the quick kind of golden stream come down, hit kind of his headquarters, and it starts burning, and you kind of hear some commotion, and then the real black oil kind of comes down, and then there's an explosion. And the oil starts bouncing off and starts going down and leaking into the city. It's catching the vegetation on fire, and it starts trailing down the city. And this is over time, you see it spreading, and people are working to put it out. And as they eventually do, your guys end up coming back, the oil's been poured, and you realize it spread farther than what you planned. Got down, got some people's houses, some people were killed.
Is the king fine?
King's fine. And you realize that the lieutenants in there, everyone that came down, they had a scouting report. They said the king was in the house, and when we lit it and it went onto the roof, he kept his own explosions in his roof. He kept explosives in there for what they thought would be some last kind of Allah Akbar thing. But if you got to him, he could kind of blow up his own house. So you realize he kind of just triggered that himself, and when it blew up,
Would that not blow in his roof and cause damage?
Yeah,
to
kill
it?
so the reason why he had that plan was
'Cause he
he
was gonna
had
go
his
down
own
with the ship.
cover on the inside. So he had a metal over his sleeping quarters, so it just took some time for his men to kind of bury him and take him out. So that's kind of what you see. And one of your lieutenants was like, "This is kind of bad. We came, we kind of lit their city on fire, and now we're starving them." But he says, "This is the price of war." Oh, my fetch. So, a couple days go by, and the city's getting real low on food. And a different messenger comes out, and he kind of comes out with his hands up, and he says, I have a verbal. Oh. Did it die?
Yeah.
How long is it? How long is it?
Well, this one was it's like an hour.
Probably well,
It's an hour and a half right now.
Okay. I'm surprised we finished this that long. I was like, maybe we're gonna put it. We're good. We're wrapping up on the final place. Yeah, on the final scenario to end and see what happens. So, a couple days go by. Your lieutenant says, "It's the price of war. This is what happens. There's a reason why things happen." In the morning, a messenger comes out, kind of has his hands up from last time because word is spread, and he kind of just took the kind of couple miles to walk. He has no horse. So he says the king would like to negotiate
Very
on
good.
terms of surrender.
His surrender? Or
His surrender. On his surrender.
Nice,
He says, I am a person of my people. He says, I know when I'm beat. He says, bring your people in and we will negotiate.
Fetch that.
F that
You
guy.
come to us.
Or meet
Yeah.
in
What is your
between.
response?
It
Meet
is
in
basically
between.
that. Yeah, it's like, sure, we'll walk maybe like a little bit closer to your city, but
We ain't
we'll still
coming
meet
in,
outside.
man.
So kind of a midway. He's kind
Yeah.
of in front of his gates and you kind of meet with your kind
Yeah.
of row of archers. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So he says, we'll do that. And then the messenger says, it'll take some time. We'll tomorrow morning.
Oh no, he's got an ambush set up for you.
So. Yeah, does that work?
sure, we'll
Okay.
say we do it.
I'll come
I was
in
gonna say.
armor.
Okay.
I'll
We'll
come
say-
in
we'll tell
armor.
her. Yeah.
Okay. Brendan.
Okay. Maybe we'll.
So I'm Brendan, and the guy goes and he meets you in the morning, and he says, you know, like just based on what we talked about, like I can point you out to, like what I kind of discussed. You kind of go with him to just spread out that money personally. He says, I think it was a great idea for you to kind of be there personally, so people know that it's you doing your actions. So you're kind of spearheading all of
Good
this.
man.
Do you do this?
Yeah.
Okay, so you go around, people are very grateful, lots of people getting photos when you're passing it out. You're going around, and these are magical photos, let's just say. Like you're in medieval time, but there's cameras.
Oh, it's like, yeah, like Harry Potter.
Yes.
Where it's like kind of like a GIF.
Yes. Okay, yeah, we'll do that. So, you're passing it out, all this happens. Is there anything you want to do? You're passing out, people are very grateful, people kind of chanting you in the street, you know, like one more year for you.
18 more years. 18 more years.
Yeah. So you kind of get some chance. You're feeling good. Is there anything you want to do after this? So after you kind of spread out the money, he kind of lets you go. He says, "Here's your copy of the contract. Like, should be all good." And he says, "I'll." Usually, how contracts work is one goes to City Hall, one's for each party. So it's
Okay.
like you'll get yours, he'll get his, and then there's one that goes to City Hall. So there's an official. So he'll kind of take care of all that, and then. Is there anything you're wanting to do?
I would like to help like the city guards and stuff like that. So like maybe buy new equipment for them and stuff like that. You know,
Okay.
get better kind of, you know.
Let's say in the contract there was a miscellaneous amount of money that you were able to negotiate and separate and be like, I
Okay.
want this to do whatever I want with.
Yeah, sounds good. That's kind of how I'd like to go. What about my opponent? Is he doing anything or?
Just
So-
trying.
Surprisingly, the election is really soon. It's in about 3 days.
Is he doing anything, or are we gonna
So
have,
he's
like,
kind
a-
of campaigning, but the word you're getting around is like you're probably with this kind of boost, like you were, like it was kind of going to be like a 60-40, but now with this boost, it'll probably be like 70-30. Like you'll probably end up winning. The only variable are the people that never vote actually get to vote, and he's like, that's kind of always like, but the people that don't vote always, like, it's expected for them to continue to not vote. So that's kind of the only swing, but from kind of the numbers you're getting back, you're looking good on winning.
All right, yeah, I'll just keep going with that. Make sure my family's all good. Is my daughter still sick, or is she?
No,
is she
she's good now. She's back on. She goes out and plays. Another day goes by. You're kind of making the same rounds. Elections in 2 days. People are kind of asking you some questions in the streets. Doing your same old, same old. The morning before your election,
Someone pours
the
oil
poll,
all over the city hall.
morning, right before you leave your house, you kind of wake up, you lean over to your wife goes, give me that big kiss. And then right as you go in, door bursts open. Ton of your guards start rushing up to your stairs. And they're pulling out their swords. And they go and they arrest you.
Ooh.
The betrayal.
And you start, what's going on through your mind? What's going on? They pull out their swords and they say, you're under arrest, sir. And some of the guards, kind of your lead guard, kind of right under you says, put your weapons away. So, the young guards kind of sheath their
Like my
weapons.
lieutenants,
Because, that's their protocol is they kind of get the situation handled, but they put them away and then they kind of pull out the shackles And they say, I gotta.
Why?
And the lieutenant's like, I gotta arrest you.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, first, I'm gonna be like, okay, get out of my house, not in front of my wife and children or whatever.
I'll come out.
So we'll take it outside, and then I'll be like, so what is this about?
The lieutenant's kind of, he's like,
I have a right to know.
he says, you're under arrest for treason.
And what is
The money was
treason?
stolen from the city's treasury.
So he says you're under arrest for treason, and he says, I think I have to arrest you here, sir.
What's the treason about? What did I commit?
He says, we'll talk about that in court. That's where we're going right now. He says the city council is there, seeing as you're the captain of the guard.
Say I'd say I'll go as long as you tell me while we're walking before we get there, so I have some sort of heads up.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know what I did.
I'll do that, and then just be as well, be like, well, you know me as a man, you know, I have nothing to hide, I have nothing to, like, fear and stuff like that.
And he kind of folds his arm, and he kind of looks down, and he shakes his head, and he's like, if this is true, you're under arrest for treason. You're in collusion with the mafia and the underground mobs. And he says, I think you're the kingpin, and it was right under our noses the whole time.
You just got thrown under the bus by the rich snobby boy.
So
Yeah, I
now,
know.
to Corbin, and then we'll come back to you.
No!
Ooh.
Oh, the cliffhanger! Ooh! Ooh!
Hurry up!
So, morning comes. Captain of the guard comes, walks, demands to open your cell. And guards start opening it. Or no. Captain of the guard comes in, and he says, we're going to talk. So that information you gave? Ooh!
It was good? Good. It was good information.
And he says, I'm going back to get the key. And the guards kind of leave. And he points at the guard that's usually watching. And he says, come with me. So he leaves, and the guard that's supposed to be 24/7 is away. And as you kind of like look around the corner, you're kind of wondering, like, you're kind of thinking, I assume, like, oh man, how do you get out of this? And you look over, and the prisoner that doesn't usually move is finally facing you. He turned towards you. You don't know how, maybe he turned towards you when you looked away, but he's turning towards you, and he's kind of moving his head back and forth. So he's laying on the ground, he's kind of moving it like this.
What?
As if saying like, or no, or you don't know. So, as you look over, you finally are seeing his face, and he kind of looks young. Like, he's been in here a long time, but he kind of looks like he's aged pretty good, even though he doesn't really move.
He's an elf.
Oh. Tim?
And then you look over, and the other old man, Bobby, is
staring at you again.
Back towards you this time. He's back towards you, and he's looking down in the corner of the room.
While he's taking
And
the
you
dude.
kind of see some glow off the
I knew
walls.
it.
And then,
I knew it.
as you kind of squint to look closer, he kind of like, and he looks around, and then he meets eye contact with you.
Like, I
You
saw
want to
that
tell
old
me
man.
something, dog?
I saw that old man.
Now it's time for you to do
And-
me a
And
favor.
he reaches his hand out, and he says, this is for you. And he reaches it through your bars to your cage. And since they're really skinny, like, he can kind of like push it in and then kind of,
Right.
do you accept what he gives you?
I'd be like, drop it, you hoe.
First, I look back at the guy. I say, why are you shaking your head?
And he kind of just,
Does it have to do with this guy? Are you shaking your head at this guy?
he's making the same sound.
But he's not shaking anymore.
No, he's still.
He's still just...
Not long, like, no, he's just kind of like up and like back and forth slowly.
I'll take it.
You open it, and it's a little gem, and he just hands it to you. He says, "This is for you."
Bet.
You know where I got that from?
And he kind of like, as he looks at you,
And I throw it at the other guy.
is that what you're gonna do?
I don't want to get caught with it on me. That's bad.
Is that what you're gonna do?
Just stick it in your mouth.
Do I notice anything special about this?
It seems like that's kind of what he was holding that caused the light.
But do I notice, like, I'm holding it, is there anything like
You feel that it could be magical in essence.
good magic or bad magic? Hair on the neck raised or heart
It's just
calmed?
magical. You're not
it's
gonna ask the guy what
feelings.
it is, or.
I'll ask him. What is this?
And he says it's a message from the rebellion.
What? What the frick?
And he says if you touch it between your hands and concentrate, there's a message for you. And then he says, "Here, I'll show you," and he asks for it back. He says, "I'll give it right back."
Ah!
You're garbage.
Throw it out the window. Like Luke Skywalker and freaking his like lightsaber. Just
Why did you report me if you have a message from the rebellion?
He says, "I want that favor." And he says, "That was one of the ways I could get my favor." But he says, he says, "I think by the end of all this, I'll get that favor." But he still asks for it. He's like, "I'll shoot first the orb, or the gem." He says, "First the gem."
I would just go with it, dude. Just go with it.
So he grabs it, and then he kind of holds it in between and he concentrates, and it's like a little TV screen pops up, and you realize it is from the rebellion. And they talk, and they say, "I don't know how we got this gem, but there was instructions given to give your Red Bach, Red Bach, a message." And he's kind of questioning it. He's kind of looking at like as if he's confused, and he tells you that we had some scouts raid the other party. He says we're still working into it. He said this gem also came with instructions that solved our issue with your prison, with your gate, with your prison bars. And then he kind of closes the message and he stops it, and he goes, and he tries to hand it back to you, and he says there's more in it, but are you gonna do that favor for me?
I take it from his hand and say, no.
he doesn't give it to you until you
Say yes.
No.
Well, okay.
Hey, he said I'll give it back. He said I promise
the
to give
favor.
it back, but will you do that favor for me?
The thing is that there's not much more in there that I would need to know. They told me, okay, this solved our issues.
It ended with, we know how to solve your issue, our issue with the bars, and then he closed it.
Yeah, so they know how to solve the issue, so we're good.
He was gonna tell you. You can tell he was gonna tell you on how it is gonna work. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
probably
just
like,
the
seems like
piece,
the gem is
it's like the
key
piece that
or
was
something.
missing.
Yeah.
You can tell it was kind of like a recorded message, kind of.
Fine.
You say yes to this favor?
Yeah. Give me the gem.
He was gonna give it back to you regardless.
Oh.
So he gives it to you.
So he
and
gives
then-
it to me, and then he asks about the favor.
Will you do that favor for me?
Just one sec.
Okay. You read the message, and he says, the instructions given to us from this gem was that we can record this message, and there's a cloth that was given to us with this message. This cloth, if you pee on it,
I knew that was what it was.
that you can wrap it around the bars
And you twist it.
and twist, and it'll bend as if,
Straight Shanghai noon, baby.
yeah, and it will bend, but it'll bend your specific bars because your bars are a lot thicker. So it'll bend, and then you can pull, and it'll pull the metal off. Just the section that's on. So you'll bend them together, and once the metals touch, you can pull like the chunk out, and they'll be fused together. So you can have like, it's kind of more magical and without much effort. So you don't need like a pry bar to kind of like twist it. So you just have to get it wet.
Just a little bit of pee.
Pee. And he says, how we can get this to you is, it said in the instructions that it was already next to you, or it's already there for you.
It's
and
his
then
loincloth.
as you look over the old man, he kind of opens up.
It's his
and
loincloth.
it's not his loincloth, but he pulls it out, and he kind of shows it to you.
Okay, but what can I accomplish with this much space. Like get my bicep through, and that's it.
We do one
And
section.
then he kind of just slides you.
That's true.
He kind of just slides you the cloth. Yeah, he'll grab you, and he kind of just smiles at you. And then
I didn't say yes to
the
this
guards
favor
start
yet,
coming
dog.
back. You can tell they're coming back. And then you look over, and the guy who's in the fetal position, shaking his head no, he kind of just, he's sitting on his bum now, like this.
The boy's sitting up.
And he's facing you. And he's kind of moving a little more, like his head's moving, and he's kind of flexing his arms a little bit, and he's moving a little more.
So, Captain of the Guard grabs you, takes you back in the interrogation room. Tim.
Fetch!
Wow.
I never said yes to the favor.
No, yeah. I know. I knew you would.
I can't trust you. Favor's gonna be something like horrible.
You're just not trusting Travis. You can trust the other guy.
Travis is the old man. That's the trick.
So
Travis, it's me. Travis is the bad guy in all. He's the king, the old man,
Maybe we'll
and the
get
guy
to
that
a
set you
different
up.
checkpoint with Corbin. Okay, so he takes you in the interrogation room, and he says that info you gave was just enough to know, but he says they moved. And he says, is there other information you know for us? He says, you kept your family just safe enough.
If they moved, I mean, I've been in prison, so I.
And he smacks you in the middle of what you're saying. He says, boy. and then
You're gonna kill this guy?
and you're shackled up this time. And then he kind of wet willies you in one ear, and he gets closer again, and he goes, condensation right in the ear, calls you boy again. And he says, you're never getting out. And then grabs you again, and you get shuffled, and you get thrown into your cell.
Now, Tim.
And you realize the guy that was in the fetal position is now standing, and he's kind of moving closer to the edge of where you can kind of touch, and he's kind of like longer words. He's kind of getting there, so he's getting closer to where you're at. And the old man you're looking over is kind of getting skinnier.
Oh, fetch! He's taking this old man's life
And
force.
the old man is getting, he comes closer again. He's like, this is the final chance. Will you do me that favor?
You're gonna have to murk the other guy, dude.
What was he gonna say?
It's either you let him die, and the guy.
But I know that this old guy is a criminal.
Well, they're both.
Both of them are.
Yeah, but I don't.
But who's worse?
But this guy.
I feel like the other guy is worse, dude.
I don't know. This old
The
man's
old man?
tricky. This old man's
The
Travis.
old man seems like, nah. The other guy's
They
like
both are. They're like the same.
freaking.
So this is the, we'll
Sucking his
cliffhanger, and then we'll
life
jump into
force.
Tim, but
He says, will you do me this favor? He's like, last chance. And he kind of licks his lips a little bit.
Is he scared at all of the other guy?
No, he's just looking at you.
Not 9 years.
So he doesn't notice that he's getting smaller and smaller and like frailer and frailer.
No, the guy doesn't. The guy from you can tell just doesn't care. Bobby doesn't care. Are you gonna ask him about the other guy?
Yeah, what's with the other guy? And why are you getting so small?
And he kind of leans over and he kind of,
This guy was in a fetal position, couldn't talk, and now he's saying words and standing up and moving. And you're looking worse and worse.
And he goes, huh? And he comes back and he goes, so is that a no?
Either way, you're falling into the trap, dude.
And he goes, here. And he pulls out this kind of cylinder of metal, and he holds one end of it, and he hands it to you, and he says, if you want to do this favor, you got to grab the cylinder while I'm holding it, and you have to say yes. And he offers, he's like, last chance.
Magically binding them.
I was gonna say, I feel like he's just trying to take my body.
Yeah, he'll just become like.
Yeah, he's just trying to
The
mind
body
swap.
snatcher.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's like, I'm getting life sucked. I want to body swap with this 8-foot behemoth. The other guy hasn't given me a reason not to trust him. The old man turned me in.
And he says, here, I'll sweeten the deal. If you do me this favor, I'll guarantee no matter what, your family will be safe from anything. They'll have any life they want.
You gotta do it for the family.
Well, you'll just say, that includes me being there, right?
I'm going to say, if it's any life they want their husband and dad.
And he says nothing. He says, that's the deal. He says, this is the last chance. And you can tell the guard that's coming back down the hallway is about to sit down and see all this. So you got to make a decision. Oh, you grab it?
Get him!
Oh! Tim.
Take it back!
Oh! Tim. Woo. Morning time.
He guaranteed my family's safety. I had to take it.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. He did.
I don't see how this is almost over. This is like,
Yeah.
What the heck?
So that's the final scenario. We're about to wrap up with your last part, and then Tim, we're setting you up for the last part, and then we're going through again.
Okay.
Sorry, it's kind of.
Oh, no,
it's
this is
cool.
at least 2
love it.
episodes.
Okay.
This is at least 2 episodes. I'm going to cut it off at a cliffhanger.
Oh,
100%.
shiz, dude, I'm going to have to wait a week to listen to this. Okay. Tim. Yeah. You guys have all time for this, right? I know Tim had to be somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Get out.
So,
Oh, yeah.
you meet, you get your people. I assume you kind of go up and you see the king's out. He has his 2 people with him, kind of like you, but you have obviously more circle and you have your own kingdom. And he has his specific 2 people, and you can tell from your intel and everything, those are kind of his right and left hands. Those are kind of who's in charge of all the propaganda, who are setting up all the stuff the people are listening to. And he's in front of the city, and you can tell like his guards are posted up on the wall, and they're kind of sitting there with bows. And then I assume you're kind of going up and meeting him too, and you'll have your people and your trebuchets ready and everything.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to do, or anything with kind of what you're thinking?
Probably not. Just having everyone be on watch.
Okay. So you meet up with him, and the guy starts, his lieutenants are sitting there, and he starts pacing back and forth, and he goes, you put me in a real bind here, Stinky. I forget your name, Peak.
Yeah.
He goes, you're going, put me in a real bind. He says, I know you would have given me trouble based off of all the other kings. He says, you really have them under your thumb, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you say nothing.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm a smart man. I knew there wasn't going to be a way out of this, seeing as you came earlier than my plans. And he kind of motions, and his archers kind of get ready and string their bows. And then your lieutenant motions, and all your kind of guys string their bows. And it's kind of that a Mexican standoff.
He's got 10,000 more men.
Yeah. But your guys are kind of out in the open, so like your guys kind of have cover.
Yeah.
And the king goes, I control this city. And he says, this is your final chance to leave. And you can tell everyone that you negotiated your way out of this. So he's trying to give you an escape, a route to leave. And he says,
I was
but
trying to
he
blackmail
gives you
you.
this thing. He says, if you leave, you'll never come back.
Is that a threat?
Yeah, he's trying to big man you.
Yeah.
Well, I've already put myself in like a pretty big man position. Gotta just kind of hold the ground.
Oh
for
yeah,
that.
you
So
kind
it's
of have the advantage in men. Like he'll probably lose in the long run, but like you may lose more men than he does, but he has less men. So it's kind of like he may get the advantage on losses, but like you're gonna take the city. You have the supplies and everything you need to take the city, but he's trying to give you. He's trying to be big man and going, I'll give you a way out of this.
That's when you secret signal and your trebuchet just zoom.
You do have signals like that you
Yeah.
can give your men. So your guys are ready to go. His guys
just on the walls are ready to go. And he goes, I'll give you a chance to negotiate your way out of this. And he kind of doesn't even look you in your eyes. He kind of just looks beyond you. And
I feel like
kinda
this
looks
whole.
down
I
his
feel like
nose.
this whole city just needs to burn, Tim.
Yeah. So the thing I wanted in the very beginning was to get close to the king so that he could go gone. Like, I wanted to just send an assassin, so he's right there. So I just use my fast skills and boom. And
do that? Skills and
Ward starts to go out. There's gonna be the battle, but that's what happens.
just murk.
Okay.
But the king's gone.
The
That's
king is
important
gone.
part. King's dead.
And
Yeah, you
we'll
could
try
literally
to
just leave.
go into the city with the least amount of casualties of like
you don't even have to
possible. Is just so.
What's the coin flip for, Brad?
See if I
even
die.
or odds.
To see for what?
Just even or odds for a consequence.
We'll go evens again.
All right. So you kind of Sauron's mouth. You kind of come up and you kind of and your hands on the hilt of your sword, and you just kind of and you just straight behead him, and everyone for a couple seconds goes. And then right before everyone starts screaming, his lieutenants look at him, and they both just stab your lieutenants.
Oof.
So both your lieutenants are down, and then you kind of flip your sword, stab one in the side of the head, you back kick one of the guy's knees so he falls, and then one of your archers kind of just shoots him. The same guy who kind of like, the other guy shoots him, and he falls over, and a flow of arrows comes down on your men. Your trebuchets go off, take out the top guards, and your men just start going in because you have
It
that
is
plan
war.
of attack.
Yep.
And
So when are we
easily,
filming this?
easily within an hour or two, your guys are stationed out. Like, you've already had a plan of attack on sieging the city, so within an hour or two, your plans go great. Although this king was smart on his plans, he never really would have assumed you would have done a bold move, like just. He would have thought you would have been a negotiator, an Obi-Wan, and kind of. So, but you just kind of took him by surprise there. So there's that moment of weakness, and some of his guards didn't know really the plan of attack. If they got invaded, they thought they were just going to stall it out. So when you kind of took it, you had some resistance, but eventually everyone kind of retreated. You kind of took hold of the city, and now you're walking through the city and you're kind of inspecting things. You kind of have the lieutenants' first hands kind of be next to you as they're trying to like learn to be your new lieutenants, because that's kind of how the chain of command goes. And they're burying the lieutenants. You kind of give them a word as a funeral. But you're going through the city, and a lot of people are shouting at you. They're telling you, like, you burned our people, and moms are crying, like, you killed my son in that oil. And then some other people are like, my parents died because they starved to death because of you. The supply lines, like, people lost their businesses because they couldn't
Shouldn't
sell.
be a communist.
So some people are kind of hating on you. What's the Tim's plan? You're kind of in this city now.
Burn the city.
The idea for your character, I assume,
Burn it
would
all.
be trying to kind of get them back on, restarted on their own, and kind of show.
Yeah,
them
that
what's
would be
actually-
the.
So how does
definite
Tim go
hope.
about it?
Is that one guy that I talked to earlier? The.
Muhammad?
Yeah, is he still around?
He's there. He's attending to a lot of the people. He's trying to help calm the people down. He does meet with you, and he says. He kind of just goes, interesting play.
Yeah.
And he notices that your lieutenants aren't there. So he asks, he's like, where are your lieutenants? He says, are they off helping or off doing
Just
nothing?
like they were
Consequences of war.
casualties of the war.
And they go, beef and burrito. Our lieutenants? They killed them?
Casualties of the war
Yeah,
too.
Okay. And he kind of heard something that there was a fight between the lieutenants, but he kind of got like off of what you said. He's like, oh, they die. And then he's like, did you get rid of his lieutenants? His right and left hand? That's kind of what he called them. His right and left hand.
Oh, they're gone.
I didn't do it. But
Yeah, my lieutenants killed each other.
He didn't say
Yeah.
like you, but like, are they
Okay,
gone?
yeah.
Okay. And he kind of asks, he's like, okay, your lieutenants are gone. And he kind of asks, he's like,
I'd love to be in maybe your council as you try to help the city get back. He says, would that be something you'd be willing to do?
Yeah, I'd be willing to, because I want to have someone that they already know and kind of work, because I probably will have to work through him, and it's like there's no way I can
Now
just
listen
walk
to
in.
him,
Yeah.
but not me now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So as you go through, a lot of your soldiers are actually kind of like clone troopering it up. Like they're going around, they're helping people like move boxes or moving some of the stone that the trebuchets destroyed. So they're kind of senior guys.
Almost
So you're
like
kind
they're
of winning
good
some of the
guys.
people. A lot of your kind of scholars that you kind of brought with you are trying to tell the people and show people kind of how the world is and kind of teach them like there's a council of kings, these are the rules, this is kind of what your king did. And so some people are kind of getting the idea, and you can kind of feel the city's kind of like 50-50 over the next kind of week on what's going on. They're kind of 50-50, like some are still kind of like, well, he just invaded us and now he's trying to like sweeten us up, and some people are like, no, like he's showing us how bad our king was. There's a reason why he's here. And some people are kind of going to your merit. You're kind of going around, you're trying to help people too, so you're kind of trying to be seen. It's getting close to nighttime, and your new lieutenant says you should probably get some rest for tonight. That you should probably just head to like the tent that's in the city now. So now you're kind of camped out in the city. Is there anything you want to do on your way back? Like, it's nighttime, some of the people are 50-50. Is there anything specific that you wanted to do?
So I trust my lieutenant, right? Like he's not.
Yeah. He's with you. He's with you and everything. Your other lieutenant says like, I'd be careful with some of the people around here because some of them are really loyal, and then some of the other people are willing to change. So you kind of have this high tension state going on. So one of your lieutenants says like, you should get your rest, and the other one just says you should be careful on some of the people here. Like some of them are really loyal to the cause. Especially like the people that were high up. It seems like the right and left hand were killed and the king, but some of the other people that held power or positions of leadership kind of were here for a reason.
Yeah.
And your guards have kind of intel'd it out, kind of grabbed some of these people and have tried to like talk to them. So those are still kind of negotiations that are going on. So is there anything specifically that you wanted to do to add to kind of your help or kind of your goal? Some people some of the guards were like, yo. Some of the new guys kind of heard the tales of how good you are with a sword, and then once you kind of slice and diced it, they were like, they kind of asked you like, can you give me a lesson sometime?
You teach me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
probably.
anything?
I would, if I were you, I'd probably be like, I would use this guy, like the advisor, basically, as like a chevron between you and their people or whatever, not putting you directly in the line. Plus, he's somebody that you would like, or they would like. So it's like, take the blame, But like, he's just basically your pawn at that point,
Yeah.
So, you could kind of have a more like hands-off approach. It'd be like
A pawn with a secret dagger.
Yeah. But
I don't trust him at all, and I don't think you should.
Well, no, you don't have to trust him. You just have to. He just
Yeah,
has to
but
do
it's
what you
like-
say.
That's
It's
true.
like-
He could be like having his own secret means to rise up his own rebellion.
Who?
That's true. The
Muhammad.
Muhammad?
Yeah.
Do you want to go?
I
eat
want
with
to
him before the night's
move.
over?
I want to move my camp back outside.
Okay. Okay. So you guys set your camp back outside,
Yeah.
and as you're moving out and as you're about to leave, Muhammad catches you right at the door, and he says, "I think we can help." What did I have written down? Okay. So as you're leaving towards the camp, a citizen approaches you and talks about Muhammad's loyalty to the previous king, and is surprised about the talk, about the talking he's done recently. Like, he's like, yeah, he's been kind of loyal to the king and the idea of like communism, but he's like, it's been really surprising that he's talking about like how the city will be better than it was. Like, you're here now, you've come in, like, he's been talking to people, he's been talking to the groups, and he's like, it's really interesting, and he's like, it's almost encouraging to see him kind of take on this new mantle. Like, he's almost like a different person.
So he's like advocating for
It's almost like he
him.
has a fake mask on.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get close to you, buddy with you. I wouldn't trust him, but I'm not Tim.
So, as you move down the city, Muhammad also
Yeah.
catches you again, and he says, he talks about kind of the successes. He's like, I've been talking to people. I think I've been able to help him, like, go towards the idea of, like, this is a good change. And he says, there's one last, like, high up, or like, you have the top, you have the pyramid, and then now you kind of cut the top of the pyramid off, so like there's this new top of the pyramid. So he says there's one more guy that if I can convince him, I think I could get everybody else to kind of come along, because he's kind of the head. So if Muhammad's talking about, like, if I can talk him into it, I think we can kind of turn the city into what your idea was thinking about, like, to grow the city. And he says, I'm going to talk to him tonight. He says, are you going outside to rest for the night?
See, if this one guy he's gonna go talk to is so powerful, it's like
He's not really like powerful.
well-
He's just like one of the last leaderships. So you don't want to be the king to just start killing
I would test
everybody.
his loyalty. Be like, all right, bring him to me.
that's a good. I like that thought. It's a
Okay.
good.
Is
This
that-
is a good opportunity to test his loyalty. That's a good time. Yeah.
Plus,
So
he
have-
brings him to you. If he doesn't,
Yeah. So just
all right,
maybe like,
kill them both.
yeah, I want to join the meeting, or just like,
You want to be there?
yeah, I'll be there.
Okay. He says he is worrisome of you. Would we be able to do it? With just us three, or
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
okay. So he says, "Let
They
me."
might both
I'm good
betray
enough
you
with a
though.
sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he says, "Let me talk to him."
I'll just talk to my lieutenants beforehand and be like, if I died, it's up to you now.
Kill them all. Burn
Okay.
them all.
And,
Yeah.
and so Muhammad goes.
Scorch earth.
Muhammad
Yeah.
goes and he's like, let me talk to him, we'll get a meeting place, and he leaves. He comes back and now he's like, perfect, we got a house, like, here's the house. He kind of points it out in the city. You can have your guys around it, whatever. And it says we have the meeting set up. And you realize it's like really close, it's like 5 minutes there. So you're like, oh, do you go to this meeting? And Muhammad's kind of like, you don't have to, like, I can just catch up with everything, but of course you're welcome to be in it if you want.
Just wait for him to like get
Like,
both of them go in there
so
and
I
just
can-
burn the house.
We can,
You're like, you thought I was gonna fall for it?
so we can debrief
Burn 'em all.
you in the morning if you want. If you want to get a night's rest, because I know that's where you're heading, or you can just come to the meeting now. Like, it's ready now. It's just up to you. So he gives you the option of going to bed, and he'll brief you on what they talked about, or you can be in the meeting.
I'll do it now because they
Yeah,
haven't
I
had
just-
time to set it up.
Yeah, it's like, why not? Just go. Just go.